Grandpa says, if only they built trucks like they used to. Simple as a lawnmower. Back then, if something wouldn't work, you grabbed a wrench. Nowadays, you might need to call a rocket surgeon who knows more about computers than trucks.
Everything hurts and nothing makes sense anymore. What do you mean I need a password?
Now, before I get started, I want to make it clear. I'm not anti-progress. I'm pro-reliability and pro-affordability. Years ago, I worked at a dealership where the service writer had a 5-year-old Chevrolet K5 Blazer, and it was rusted to the headliner. Now, back then, 30 or 40 years ago, it was common knowledge American-made vehicles had rust issues around wheel wells, rocker panels, cab corners, core supports, just about everywhere that water could get to, it eventually would rust out. Today, we've got a different problem, and it's called software rot. Now, I want to touch on the point of diminishing returns. I had a late 80s K31 ton Chevy dually that I used for hauling, towing, pulling, whatever, and it had a 454, and I got about 8 miles a gallon. Now, later on, I had a late model Chevy Silverado 2500 with a 6-liter V8, and that got me about 13.5 miles per gallon, doing the same work. Now, that 5 miles a gallon is quite a jump, and extended over a full tank of gas can make the difference between you making it to the gas station and, well, your wife having to get out and push while you steered. That is advanced development and smart engineering. And then let's use a second example of, say, a smaller economy car that gets about 30 miles per gallon. Now, the manufacturers will go through extensive research and development using advances in emissions and safety, engine design, all in an effort to increase the gas mileage. Well, not all in an effort, but they'll increase the gas mileage to, say, 35 miles per gallon. Now, I can say with pretty strong confidence that the first example of my Silverado, with the safety and the advancements in power and efficiency, more than exceeded my expectations and justified the additional cost over what I used to spend on that 8 mile per gallon K31 ton. I'm not so sure I can say that about a car that goes from 30 to 35 miles per gallon and costs you an additional $15,000 to do it. Driving a pre-catalytic converter, pre-ECM, carbureted car or truck from the old days, there's no comparison. They had a mind of their own. You'd set the carburetor and it would change according to engine condition, vacuum leaks, humidity, type of fuel. However, using some basic modern technology and some upgrades such as a Phytech or a Sniper TBI, a couple O2 sensors, a catalytic converter, and a very simplistic ECM, you can improve the emissions on that mid-80s 354 barrel by up to 90% into what was EPA compliant in the mid-90s. Better cold starts, a smoother throttle, more efficient fuel trim and economy. And that's not just opinion, that's how closed loop feedback works. And the best part about all of that is it's both affordable and you can do those modifications in your own driveway. Now, for a lot of you folks, maybe that's where you would have liked to have seen things start to slow down a little bit. A drastic reduction in emissions over what we used to experience, and now your old truck's getting close to 20 miles per gallon on the highway. A lot of you folks believe that everything that's happened since then, active fuel management, variable valve timing, direct port and fuel injection, 10-speed transmissions, dual turbos, these are all things that are done based on a mandated fuel economy and emission standards regulated by the government. It's not actually what the customer wants or what they can afford. It once again points to the value of reaching a point of diminishing returns. Trucks are the auto manufacturer's profit center. Let's talk some numbers. The average new truck price right now today is between $50,000 and $52,000. That's a record high. That's not a loaded truck, that's the average. Now, the auto manufacturers like to keep their profit information close to the vest, but I can tell you that on a mid-level or even an economy sedan, that they make less than 10% off each sale, versus the high-end pickup trucks in which they can generate up to $17,000 in profit per truck. And now you see why they focus on the higher-end SUVs and luxurious models, and they've kind of pushed away a huge segment of their buying public into the used car market. Over 75 models right now of American-made cars that are listed at over $65,000. There are less than a dozen that are listed for less than $25,000 MSRP. And that leads us into the payment trap, because the average new car loan these days is around $44,000. And that's a payment of around $800 a month. And these are both all-time highs. It's also worth noting that nearly 1 in 5 loans is over $1,000 a month, and it's mostly trucks that are carrying that. The F-150, the Silverado, it's the Ram. It's not necessarily the luxury cars. And unfortunately, a large number of buyers are shopping based on a monthly payment over price. Auto loan delinquencies that are 90+ days have hit a record in 2026. And that is worse than the peak of the Great Recession. This 2012 Chevrolet Tahoe LTZ, which has just about every option that was available for it in that year, I paid $2,100 for this vehicle at an auction. And it does everything for us that a 2026 Chevrolet Tahoe does, except impress the neighbors. So I bought this vehicle with the equivalent of 3 monthly payments on a new one. But now we get into the software rot. Here's the navigation system on this 2012 Chevy Tahoe. Now this was cutting edge in 2012. The dealer probably bragged on it before mentioning the engine. Nobody pays much attention to it today. Nobody pays to update it. The phone in your pocket will do a better job for free. Remember, every remaining upgrade path on this truck is mechanical or cosmetic. The electronics are frozen to right where they were. Now, when I first brought this Tahoe home, my son looked at this navigation system and he goes, well, it's functional, it's antique-y. Rust, faded paint, a worn engine, a failing transmission. Those are things that you can see coming over the horizon. A glitch in the software, not so much. Modern trucks run dozens of interlinked computer modules, infotainment systems, ABS, ECMs, body control modules, all interlinked, all communicating, all these talking parts creating more opportunities for glitches to be communicated from one system into the other. In the old days, we used to call diagnosing troublesome electrical problems chasing gremlins. In the modern age, I'd consider it chasing demons. Owners of most cars are used to living with a check engine light or a TPMS light. You either fix it or you learn to live with it. A safety critical software fault, however, doesn't offer that option. Real software-driven recalls exist, and they are verifiable through NHTSA filings. I don't even think my old GMC truck has a check engine light. There used to be a common cliche that folks should avoid buying the first year of any model run until they got the bugs sorted out. Well, in the modern age, that's no longer true because the bugs live in the code. It's almost as if we see the AutoZone for software problems developing right here before our eyes, except the manufacturers own the store and the software. In December 2022, Verizon sunset the 2G network that OnStar's older hardware depended on. Every GM vehicle that was 2014 and older running that system lost real functionality. They lost the automatic crash response, the stolen vehicle tracking, the turn-by-turn navigation, remote key fob updates on some models. The trucks still ran mechanically the whole time. This Tahoe still runs fine. The safety features people paid for, they just stopped existing. There was no fix that existed. It was the obsolete hardware that was baked into the vehicle. Nothing a home mechanic like me could patch. Now, this happened to this Tahoe's own generation of GM trucks. There's no reason to think that this won't happen again. Now, one question that's crossed my mind is, for those of you that have late model trucks, does it feel to you more like a truck or like a smartphone? You know, most people trade their smartphones in these days every 2.5 to 3 years. The battery wears down, which they can't access. It gets old, or it breaks, or the software starts to glitch, or they just want something new. What are the chances of a truck built today in 2056 getting security patches, software updates, and fixes versus a truck that was built 30 years ago today? I think I can confidently say that everything that I have that's built before 2000 will still be fixable in 2056. Is it worth it for an auto manufacturer to continue to write security patches for a vehicle that they don't think is going to be on the road more than 15 years? And where the software culture is constantly in a flux of change. Nobody's business model is going to justify paying for 20 years of firmware support after the model is no longer being produced. That's exactly why the old OnStar got cut. $40,000 vehicles that remind you every startup that your music, your GPS, or your remote start subscription needs renewing. And just as another example, GM Super Cruise is a $3,000 option, which comes with a 3-year trial period, and that costs $250 a year after it expires. Super Cruise is General Motors' advanced hands-free driving experience technology. It allows you to drive without touching the steering wheel on hundreds of miles of pre-mapped, compatible highways in North America. It manages steering, the braking, the speed pacing automatically. It's using an infrared eye tracking camera to ensure you remain alert and watching the road. And yes, that eye tracking can see through your sunglasses. So a $3,000 option on a new vehicle, and it's $3,000 a year after the first 3 years. How long does GM expect that system to remain intact? What's its useful service life? How will they make the repairs? And is it DIY user friendly? I think we all know the answer to the last question. But I've got more questions for the manufacturer as it pertains to the at-home DIYer guy that still wants to turn a wrench on his own late model truck. In the future, will the repairs be relegated to digital downloads only, subscription-based services out of the cloud? There are already independent shops that are experiencing digital lockouts. So what will happen to a truck once the manufacturer decides it's done writing updates for it? Will future shade tree mechanics have to learn how to code just to get their dash to light up? Will Apple and Microsoft, will GM and Ford and Stellantis have to merge with AutoZone and Napa? You know, they've done studies that show that about 44 of every 100 users of the infotainment systems in their vehicles experience issues with connecting or disconnecting of their cell phone. Now, I understand that technology should not be free, but is all of it absolutely necessary? How much of that is user-friendly and beneficial to the customer? How long do you expect it to last? I'm not anti-tech and I'm not anti-innovation. Again, I am pro-reliability and pro-affordability. I want to be able to work on my truck when I want to work on it, forever how long I want to work on it. And I don't want the manufacturer to tell me when it's time to buy a new one because they won't let me fix the old one anymore. That's all I got for today, folks. If you agree or disagree, post your comments below. I read them all, respond to as many as I can. Hit the like and subscribe so you can see more of our videos. But anyway, from everybody here at American Outdoors, we'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye-bye.
This concludes our broadcast day. Good night, and God bless America.